Today we read Psalm 104. To appreciate the true poetic beauty of the Psalms, it's a shame I don't read and understand the original Hebrew that they were composed in. But nevertheless, the beauty of the imagery in this translation is stunning, like that song actually. There's a lot of personification. Matter and created beings are described with human attributes, including the Leviathan, the sea dragon. The psalm, therefore, tells us a lot about the worldview of the people in that time. Everything was connected, and what they did affected creation. I was thinking about how they might have described the thunder that we all heard this morning. Maybe God was angry. But over time, that worldview faded as the earth and everything on it became something to be used for our benefit, stripping and mining the earth for what we could take. I find it ironic that many of us are affirming even more that belief that we're deeply connected to the earth and that our future is codependent with the earth. So we think through our daily choices, aware that there's impact on this beautiful planet that we call home, as God is everywhere and in everything. Let's read Psalm 104. Praise the Lord, my soul. Lord, my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty. The Lord wraps himself in light as with a garment. He stretches out the heavens like a tent and lays the beams of his upper chambers on their waters. He makes the clouds his chariot and rides on the wings of the wind. How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. In verse 24, there is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures beyond number, living things both large and small. There the ships go to and fro, and Leviathan, which you formed to frolic there. All creatures look to you to give them their food at the proper time. When you give it to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are satisfied with good things. When you hide your face, they are terrified. When you take away their breath, they die and return to the dust. When you send your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works. The word of God for us today.
Wraps himself in light as with a garment. He spreads out the heavens, walks on the wings of the wind. Send forth the springs from the valleys, flow between mountains. Birds of the air dwell by the waters, lifting their voices in song, singing glory, glory, glory to the Lamb. All praises, for its season, sun knows its setting. He looks at the earth and it trembles, touches the mountains and they swell. I will sing to the
Every song that you sing along to today and every song that we played today was written and recorded by one man, Fernando Ortega. I first encountered Ortega and his music in 1997, now almost 30 years ago. And so I'm going to make a strange confession to you right now. It's probably not strange for people who know me. I just don't like most of today's Christian music. I don't. It's terrible. And by terrible, I mean in almost every way conceivable. The structure, the lyrics, the theological wasteland that many of these songs inhabit, the repetitive Jesus is my boyfriend themes, the absolute lack of character and integrity of many of the companies, churches, and artists that publish these screeds. I could really get on a tear, but I'll try not to. Now, I had an intense love for contemporary Christian music when it first, really emerged. The early Christian music, Christian rock and roll of the 1970s and 1980s was really good. Amy Grant, Billy Sprague, Petra, Rich Mullins, Leslie Phillips, Twyla Paris, Wayne Watson. These folks were all banned in the church of my youth because they were too much of the rock and roll ilk. And since then, the musicians have largely been co-opted by the marketing departments of megachurches. And the quality of the product has fallen accordingly and in order. But enough of that. Back to Fernando Ortega. I was listening to the radio. Remember when everyone listened to the radio? Late in 1997. Ortega was being interviewed as a part of his first major record release. And that album was entitled This Bright Hour. And the first song on that album was about his grandmother. That subject is close to my heart. And his easygoing, peaceful way of singing, how he moved easily between English and Spanish, it really held my attention. And after I heard more of his album, I was hooked. And I remain so all these decades later. Ortega's music has held up remarkably well, both in sound and in substance. And he continues to speak to me after most others have long faded from memory. Fernando Ortega was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, 1957. Born in the exact spot as his first Spanish ancestor who settled there in 1614. Ortega's father was a diplomat for the U.S. State Department, so he was also a well-traveled child, synthesizing into his Spanish, Mexican, and American heritage everything else that he was exposed to. Celtic music, bluegrass, country, Latin, folk. He was playing piano by the time he was 6 years of age and would go on to graduate from the University of New Mexico with a degree in music education and classical piano. He says his favorite artists are Johann Sebastian Bach and Joni Mitchell. He was 40 years old when that debut album was recorded back in 1997, not an overnight success. He had spent years leading worship in churches of all stripes and sorts. He calls his time with the rocking Pentecostals and the bouncing Baptists and the prude Presbyterians. So not only was his musical education and taste expansive, so was his church experience. He ultimately settled into the Anglican church, and so did his music. It is staid but never stodgy. It is mellow but always uplifting. It is thoughtful, but always approachable. And in addition to his original music, for the last 20 years or so, he has been the greatest interpreter of the classic hymns. I invite you, I implore you to go listen to his renditions of Give Me Jesus. What wondrous love is this? Be thou my vision. Pass me not, O gentle Savior. O sacred heart, head now wounded, even just as I am. That song that many of us hope we would never hear again for the rest of our lives because we had been to too many fiery revival meetings. He is the exception. Go listen to his version. On and on I could go, and you will not be disappointed. I love Merle Haggard. I love Willie Nelson. I love vintage blues and old spirituals, and I love Bob Dylan. But if you maroon me on a desert island and you say to me, you have one artist and only one that you can listen to for all your days here, Bob and Fernando will have to duke it out to see which one of them that I get to. Over the years, not just today, you have sang many of his songs, and every time we do a classic hymn, it's typically his arrangement that we are following. He said about his music, we tend to, in Christian music, to fall into the same old cliches over and over again. These make it into every song. Christian art can fall into these same tropes. We should go back and read older poetry. We should sing older songs. John Donne, Flannery O'Connor. Even read the ancient church fathers and the mothers who expressed ideas that we're very familiar with, but they expressed them in a way that we just don't do now. And I want to produce music like that. And he did so with that first song we sang today, Noonday Devil. Is anyone familiar with that phrase, the Noonday Devil? It originates in all places right here in the Old Testament Psalms. Psalm 91:6. Do not fear diseases that strike in the dark or sudden disaster at noon. The Greek church fathers coined that phrase, noonday devil, and you can see a couple of them right there just getting ready to beat a monk down within an inch of his life. And it's a feeling that we get late in the morning or earlier in the afternoon that says to us, I need a nap. I get that feeling every day, don't y'all? Who cares about this work? I can't finish this to-do list. To phooey with all of it. Discipline. Finish the drill. I just want to lay down on the couch or eat a box of donuts. And we might just simply call that a drop in glucose today. Or we would go get a Red Bull or a coffee and power through. But in ancient times, this listlessness that occurred late in the morning or early in the afternoon, the Christian father says, that's the devil come to get you. He's distracting you from your work. He's making you apathetic. He's making you listless, and you've got to fight back. Obviously, Ortega had been reading and has been reading the church fathers. And then he said this recently. Slide 3, Garrett. This is a general rule I've always thought was true. The older you get, you kind of lose an edge. Almost like a fire or passion that gets tamped down with age. There's a jadedness in me now with the climate in our country and some of the climate in the church. It just wears me down. You start to lose your desire to fight for ideas that are golden and true. Things that shimmer when you hear them. I feel like I'm kind of in that battle. And my voice won't last forever. I'm 68 years old now. It won't last a whole lot longer. So you have to focus. You have to surround yourself with people who are better than you. You have to stop spending so much time on social media. It just makes you feel empty at the end of the day. I feel like there's this constant admonishing from the Holy Spirit telling me to pull away from all that stuff and seek a more contemplative life. And this is why I love Fernando Ortega so much. And when he was asked a few years ago, what message would you like people to take from your music? He gave this thoughtful answer. I've always been interested in writing sacred songs that point away from the self and toward the greatness of God and emphasize God's transcendence. I also write songs about the struggles we face as we try to follow and be witnesses for Jesus in our daily lives. I try to explore how and where God meets us in those times of doubt. And when someone tells me that one of my songs helped them get through a hard time, a period of doubt, or the death of a loved one, I feel encouraged. I feel like I have succeeded. That's beautifully said. Sacred songs that point us away from the self and toward God. Songs for the struggle and the doubt. Songs to uplift and encourage we have a word for such sacred songs. They are called psalms. A few weeks ago, I took up the Revised Common Lectionary, and rather than turning to the usual Gospel or New Testament readings, I consulted the scheduled readings from the Psalms. And intentionally over these weeks, we have been diving in. Like a rock, Psalm 31. Fire and rain, Psalm 66. Riders in the sky, Psalm 68 last week. And today, creation song. The music of Fernando Ortega and the words of Psalm 104. I say the music of Ortega as he has lifted and incorporated these ancient words for his contemporary song. We just sang it. Look at the lyrics side by side, if you would, from Psalm 104 and Fernando Ortega's song. The Lord wraps Himself in light as with a garment. He stretches out the heavens like a tent and lays the beams of His upper chambers on the waters. He makes the clouds His chariot and rides on the wings of the wind. Ortega says, He wraps Himself in light as with a garment. He spreads out the heavens and walks on the wings of the wind. Psalm 104, He makes springs pour water into the ravines. It flows between the mountains. The birds of the nest of the sky nest by the waters. They sing among the branches. He made the moon to mark the seasons, and the sun knows when to go down. At your rebuke the waters fled, and the sound of your thunder they took to flight. And then Ortega, in turn, He sends forth springs from the valleys that flow between mountains. The birds of the air dwell by the waters, lifting their voices in song. He made the moon for its season. The sun knows its setting. He looks at the earth and it trembles. He touches the mountains and they smoke. And then the conclusion, Psalm 104, I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. May my meditation be pleasing to Him as I rejoice in the Lord. And then Fernando sings the same. I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praises to my God as long as I live. Praises to the Lord, O my soul. Indeed, He has returned to ancient words, not looking for tropes or cliches, but for the beauty of phrases well turned, looking for a way to turn us away from ourselves and toward the wondrous, transcendent God. And in making that turn, there is no better place to see the wonder of God than in the world God has created. The beasts of the field, cattle, trees, birds, the vast and endless sea teeming with life. God has made all of this. God sustains all of this with spirit and presence. And God's creation calls to us, admonishing us, telling us to pull away from all the stuff and seek a more contemplative life. Speaking of musical heroes, I went to a concert recently. Tim Riles, our drummer, and myself, we drove up to Dothan, Alabama, where Bobby Raines lives, our sound engineer back there. He grilled us a perfect steak. Apology to the vegetarians who are here. He served us quite pleasing beverages, and then we got into his car, and we puttered over to the Dothan Civic Center, and there we beheld the lasting glory of an 84-year-old Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan turns 85 years old today. Happy birthday, Mr. Zimmerman. The concert itself was understatedly spectacular. Perfect. And here is one of the things that made it so perfect. When we arrived at the door, they scanned our tickets, they let us inside the lobby, and immediately we were all, every single individual, provided with a pouch. It went around our necks. We put the phone that we brought into the show into that pouch. and the little attendant locked it shut with a magnetic key. If you had to use your phone, you had to step back into the lobby, go to a designated roped-off area where an attendant would unlock your little bag and allow you to use your phone. And when it was time to go back into the concert, you couldn't leave that area without putting your phone back in the pouch. Now, you might think that this phoneless space was due to the possibility of copyright infringement. Old Bob didn't want people recording or filming his performance. Not at all. Bob Dylan, in the last few years, has grown so tired of people coming to his concerts and focusing only on their phones, getting the best video or picture, posting to social media, selfie flashes all over the arena, that he has taken to performing in a hoodie. He performed that night in a hoodie, pulled up over his head with dark glasses, hiding behind his keyboard, so that people would listen to the music that he had produced, forcing people to focus. And somewhere along the way, I guess he figured it was easier to hire this company and lock away everybody's phones. And let me tell you, I loved it. It was the first major event that I have been to in years where I did not have to watch the stage through thousands of lifted tiny screens in front of me. It was just the music, just the words, the texture, the encounter with a living legend. And nature, I think, works like that for the human soul. Creation, God's creation, is, or at least can be, the pouch into which we can place all of our distractions. I mean this literally and figuratively. Take a walk in the woods. Sit by the water. Kayak. Take a boat ride. Go camping. Work in your flower garden. Observe the animals, even down to the little bugs, there are plenty of those, that cross your path in the course of a day. Behold a live oak tree in its mighty glory. And do these things without technology mediating the experience. Now, when I first started doing this work, this preaching thing, today's talk would have made no sense whatsoever. Technology did not pervade our world the way that it does today. There were no smartphones. There were no apps, no social media. And while I know there is a whole generation or two that does not have this experience, I remember quite well that one could survive out in the wild and woolly woods without a cell phone, a location monitor, or GPS satellite. In fact, in many ways, we were better off during those days. My kids get mad at me, especially my middle son. He's here today. You never answer your phone? Well, I was outside. You don't take your phone outside? No, I don't. I got plenty of people that are trying to reach me on the phone. And sometimes I need to get away from that thing. My sister, my twin sister, and she's going to be okay after a little surgery, she was struck by a car this week as she crossed an intersection. The guy that struck her, you want to take a guess what he was doing? You know what he was doing. He was on his phone. We are not built, this human body, our spirit, with its sensitivities and the evolutionary reaction systems that we are made of. We are not built to take in all the information we are force-fed every day in the 21st century. We do not have the emotional bandwidth, the space in our head or in our heart to process hundreds of daily disasters, to digest the scores of breaking news headlines every hour, to take in worldwide tragedies without end or assuagement, to respond to the number of phone calls, emails, text messages, and app alerts that crash onto us wave after incessant wave. It is harming us. It is killing us. Crooked necks from doom scrolling, walking into the things because our noses are stuck in a screen, or running over people on the sidewalk, being incapable of maintaining eye contact or a dinner conversation because of that amalgamation of chips and transistors in our hand. And I know I sound like an old man just shaking my fist at the world today. You probably do need to stay connected. You need to know what's going on in the world or whatever. People might need to know where you are. And I'm not an angry old man shaking my fist at the advancements of this age. I'm just saying that the advancements of this age are bad for our souls. We have lost all balance and common sense. We are more fixated on looking through this tiny window on the world than living in and enjoying God's actual created world. And that's a shame. A world that will remain more extraordinary than anything made by human hands or imagination. What did Fernando Ortega say? We should go back and read older poetry, sing older songs. We go back not for nostalgia or because we resist everything about contemporary culture, but to remind ourselves of how to be human, to recenter ourselves in God's world, to recover our balance, to recover ourselves. We go back to Psalms like this one we have explored today to remember who we are, to learn again who God is, and to recognize we have what we need already. It is all around us if we will slow down and simply enjoy it. Going back not so far as the Psalms or the church fathers, but a woman named Letty Kalman. She was a devotional writer from Great Britain a century ago. And she wrote about this Englishman who went to survey the deepest jungles of Africa during the age of exploration and exploitation. He traveled like he was British royalty. He brought with him all the comforts of home. Nice rugs to sit up in his tent at night, furniture, multiple changes of clothes. He had so many possessions, he had to hire an army of strong men from the local villages who would portage his belongings through the jungle. On the first day of his grand safari, he pushed his laborers at an exhausting pace. And on the second morning, the hired Africans refused to move. They sat with their breakfast. The Brit was livid. He began to shout and strut and browbeat. And finally, one of the young men in the group explained that these workers were not especially tired. They're tough. Rather, they had gone too far and too fast on the first day. And, quote, now, quote, they had to wait for their souls to catch up with their bodies. Ms. Kalman concludes that story with words decades and decades old, but more pertinent than ever. This whirling, rushing life, which so many of us live, does for us what that first march did for those poor tribesmen. But here is the difference. They knew what they needed to restore life's balance, and too often we do not. So here's a homework assignment for you. And there will be a test. Go outside. I know it's hot. It's Florida. What did you think it would be like when you moved here? Go outside. See a sunrise. If that's too early for you, see a sunset. See the sky. Really see it. See the clouds. Watch the rain as it falls. Have your coffee on the porch. Let your feet touch actual green grass. And do this without recording it, taking a picture of it, or posting it on some silly website. Do this for you. Do this for your soul. Do this for your own well-being. Do this to reconnect with your Creator, whose glory fills all the world. As a prayer, this is the first stanza of Fernando Ortega's song, This Good Day. Morning sun, morning glories, pouring down the hill. Through my window, I can feel the ocean breeze. Noisy sparrows fill the oak trees, swallows can't stay still. And in the glad commotion, Lord, you speak to me. If rain clouds come or the cold winds blow, you're the one who goes before me, and in my heart I know that this good day is a gift from you. The world is turning in its place because you made it to. I lift my voice to sing a song of praise on this good day. And it is a good